Hi everyone, I'm Alexander Zeitlin. This is the Lockdown Lecture Series for Beginner Violin. It's a course I've adapted from the Alias Music Introductions course, but for the classroom setting. So let's jump into Lesson 1. Alright, so today's lesson we're going to be going over our instrument introduction, marking our places for our fingers to be put, posture, and our left hand setup. So let's jump into it. I will introduce the violin for those of you who are new to the instrument. So the violin generally has three areas. This is known as the head right here, this is the neck, and this is the body. So on the head we have our scroll, which is the thing that looks like a scroll. These are our pegs, which adjust our coarse tuning. This is the neck, and the fingerboard is the black, usually made from ebony wood portion on top, where our strings run across. The body, interestingly enough, is the part that has the face on it. This is the bridge, which the strings run over. This is our tailpiece, our chin rest. These are our F-holes. These are the ribs. This is the back. And this, which is not really part of the violin, is a shoulder rest, which most of you will need, and I will discuss during our setup. So those are all the parts of the violin. And now I'd like to just briefly talk about markings for the left hand for when you are going to put your fingers on the fingerboard, which will help. Now I will describe these in musicians' terms, so if you're unexperienced with music, you may need the help of a musician to set these up for you. So what I recommend to mark just something visual so that you can see where to put your fingers on the fingerboard, I recommend taking a piece of Scotch tape and cutting it into thinner strips, about, I would say, like an inch or two long. And you're going to slide the Scotch tape under the fingerboard and place it in two places. One is a whole step from, this is called the nut right here, where the strings touch over here. So it's going to be not on the, this is what the nut sounds like, essentially the open string, more than a half step to a whole step. So this is where you would put your first sticker right here. You could also use like a small dot sticker to place it under the strings so that you know that this is one of the places where we'll have a regular finger placement. And the next one will be a whole step and a half step up from that. So a whole step up would be this, and then a half step. So we will have two places. One is right here, where there should be either a piece of tape going across under all four strings, and then also here going across under all four strings. There are many different ways to set up your fingering markers, but this will be a useful way to describe the positions that our fingers will be in during our lessons. All right, so let's take a look at setting up our posture. So I'm going to demonstrate everything sitting down right now because it's kind of easier to see for the camera, but violinists generally should practice standing up. So we want to be aware of our overall posture. I like to think of keeping a tall posture this way. I like to think that if I try to make myself be tall, I will get tired and eventually kind of slump again. But if I kind of imagine myself as a marionette puppet, and with only one string going from the top of my head up, and I just imagine that string is always pulling me up and the rest of me is just in a relaxed way hanging down, I will have a nice, tall, relaxed posture. So the violin fits in the space between your chin and your shoulder on your left side. That's whether you're left-handed or right-handed. The violin by itself is not that thick. There's about this much space left between my violin and my shoulder, and that's where the shoulder rest comes in. So there's a number of shoulder rests you can get for your violin. I recommend the Kuhn Bravo shoulder rest. This is a different shoulder rest that particularly fits my shoulder a little bit better, so I will put it on. I will describe how to set up your shoulder rest here in just a moment. So the shoulder rest will typically have a dip and a tall part, and you want the dip to be on the same side as the chin rest. So here on upside down you can kind of see there's the dip, and it's on the same side as my chin rest. That'll be where my shoulder goes and my chin go on this side right there. Now, I can make the shoulder rest sort of parallel, like horizontal. I can also change the angle so it's slightly tilted up or down, and you may want to experiment with that and find the angle that fits best for you. Most shoulder rests are also adjustable width, so if it's too wide and it fits too far up your instrument, you may want to shorten it and make it lower, or vice versa. So that's your shoulder rest setup. So let's talk about how to essentially like set your violin on your shoulder. So I'm going to have my nice tall posture. I will hold my instrument, maybe with my other hand, facing away from me, so the F-hole is away from me. I'm going to take my left hand, place it on the left hand side of the instrument, so like that's my left right there, on the body, kind of on the ribs right there, and I'm just going to lift it up, and I'm going to keep looking straight ahead. I'm just going to place it by feel on my shoulder, and then I will tilt my head this way, point my chin towards the scroll, and then gently lower my chin and slightly raise my shoulder to sort of pinch my chin and shoulder together and hold it with my chin and my shoulder. And generally, when I set up my violin, my posture, I want my shoulder position to not change too much. So if I hold the violin and this happens to my shoulder, then I'm going to not be very comfortable playing. So if you have a taller neck, kind of like I do, then you might want to have a taller shoulder rest and make sure that it fills that space. If you have a shorter neck, you might want to lower your, adjust your shoulder rest lower, which you can do by screwing in the feet right here. Or even play, sometimes people play without a shoulder rest. They will play with a pad or something that attaches to it as well. But you want it to fit comfortably right there. So we're going to set up the posture, and I'll show you your very first exercise. This is your posture exercise. So you're going to hold your violin facing away from you, grab with your left hand on the left-hand side of the instrument. You're going to turn, face forward, set your violin on the shoulder, then turn your chin. And now you're going to keep your left hand here, just kind of for safety, but you want to make sure that you are holding your instrument with your chin and shoulder and not with your hand. So I'm just going to hold it with my chin and gently let go of my hand, but I will keep it close to make sure it doesn't fall, because if you drop your instrument, that would be sad. So here we are. I'm going to count to 3, 1, 2, 3, then I just grab it again, and I kind of like rest my shoulder, make sure I'm not tense. And I do it again. I reset. I just want to like all the way from the start. Reset, set it on the shoulder, get used to turning your head after. 1, 2, 3, and then back. Now a couple things to avoid. We want to make sure that we put our instrument on the shoulder and not on the collarbone in front of us. Otherwise, if you put your collarbone on your violin on your collarbone in front of you, it will look like this. And we don't want to look like this when we play. We want an open posture like this. This helps us be tall. And the shoulder sort of acts as a shelf that will not let the violin drop. So if I even try to drop my violin, it won't go lower. As opposed to if I have it on the collarbone, it will sink. And even if I try to pick it up, it will just sink back again. We generally want our violin to be about level, if not a little bit pointing up. So those are the fine points of our posture. So this should get us all set up with our instrument. So let's go on to the left hand. So I'm going to give us, it's probably a little bit of a crude drawing, but if you can imagine this as kind of like your scroll here, and then you have your peg box, and then here you have your fingerboard, and then somewhere here is your violin. No matter how many lessons I've given during lockdown on the computer, drawing with a mouse is still hard. We will have put a tape marker across right here. Maybe I'll switch this to a different color here. So we will have put a tape marker right here and right here. Okay, and basically you'll see in a moment, if this is like the view, like if you are here, because here's your chin rest right here, you're looking at the violin from here when you're picking it up. The strings will go kind of farther away from you. Your thumb will be sitting on this side. So here's where your thumb goes. And then your fingers will be here. Your first finger goes across from this tape. Your second finger will go across from this little space in between, and then your third finger goes right here, and eventually your fourth finger will go above it over here, and I'll show you what that looks like. So holding the violin, so now you're kind of looking at it from the opposite side. I'm looking from here. So my thumb goes on the opposite side, kind of across from my first finger. And those of you who played piano or some other instruments, your thumb counts as your first finger. We don't use our thumb on our violin for that, so our first finger is actually our index finger. And then my other fingers sit right across. If I were to hold it like this, thumb on this side right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. My first finger will be on a tape. I don't have tapes on my violin, but you have to imagine it. My second finger would go in between those tapes, and my third finger would go right there. So this would be the setup right here. So to set that up, what you're going to do is you're going to grab your violin from the left side, set it up, turn, hold it with your chin so that you can let go with your hand. Your hand should be kind of hanging down in this position. You're going to set up your fingers, make sure they're next to your stickers, and then I want you to just do two things. Make sure your fingers are rounded. I'm going to like show this on the camera. Rounded with the tips or pads of your fingers sitting on the strings that you will be playing. So your fingers shouldn't be flat like this. They shouldn't be over curled, so they're like this, but just lightly rounded, and your wrist should be hanging down, not flat like this, and not overextended like that, just naturally hanging down. So just one more thing about our finger positions. The reason we have two stickers is because your first finger has a regular position, and so does your third finger. But your second finger actually has two positions, a low position and a high position. And I know that it kind of looks backwards right here. Like here's a second finger position, and then here's another second finger position. The low position is the one closest to your first finger, it's a lower number. The high position is this one closer to your third finger. For now, you're going to keep your second finger close to this third finger for this exercise. So not down here close to the first finger, but up here closer to the second finger. So I'm going to put down 3 fingers. I'm going to put down my first, second, and third finger, and I'm going to put them down on the string that is facing my right. So at this point I have 4 strings, like if I'm looking at my instrument, and they are G, D, A, and E. All these lecture series, you guys are going to laugh every time I write something on the screen, because it's always fun drawing with the mouse. So I'm going to start with my E string, the farthest one to my right, the thinnest string, and I'm going to put the 3 fingers down. 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 3 should be on the sticker, 2 should be right next to 3. Then I'm going to take my thumb, I'm going to put it on the edge of the fingerboard right here. This is the anchor point for my thumb. I'm just going to keep it there. And I'm going to pluck with my pointer finger. I'm going to grab the string and pull back. And that's what E3 sounds like. And then I lift E3 and I pluck E2. I lift E2 and I pluck E1. I lift E1 and I pluck E0. So then I go over to the A string, the next one over, so that would be this string right here. Okay. And I set down 1, 2, and 3. Thumb on the anchor point, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then I'm going to go over to the next string, the D string. I put down all 3 fingers. I lift my 4th finger up because I don't need that yet. 3, 2, 1, 0. And then I go down to the G string, and I'm going to do the same thing. 3, 2, 1, 0. This is our 3, 2, 1, 0 scale. I'm just practicing making the sound of each finger. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing in reverse. So I went 3, 2, 1, 0 on E, and then A, and then D, and then G. Now I'm going to go in reverse. It's a little bit trickier. I'm going to just start with plucking G0 with no fingers on. And then I take my first finger and I put it down on the G string, and that gives me G1. Then I put my second finger down, G2, and I pluck. Third finger down, G3, and I pluck. Now I've done G0, 1, 2, 3, and then I move on to the G string. 1, 2, 3, and then A0, 1, A2, A3, E string, E0, 1, 2, 3. So I have done a series of sort of fingered notes from 3, 2, 1, 0, and I go down 3, 2, 1, 0, 3, 2, 1, 0, all the way down to the G string, and I go back in reverse. And this is what we're going to call our 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 scale. A scale is just all the notes in order. So now I should be able to play approximately 16 notes. So let's go over everything we've done today. We have done our posture exercise. And I recommend doing that just 3 times to make sure that your violin is set up well. The second thing that we've done is we've done our 3, 2, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 scale. Okay. So I will now do the exercises from this lesson so you can all see it and you can all follow along. So if you are starting your practice day, make sure your violin is set up, shoulder rest is on, and pick up your instrument, hold it like this, grab it on the left side, set it here, turn your chin, and posture exercise. So gently let go, but hold your hand close. 1, 2, 3, back. Relax. 1, 2, 3, back. Relax. I hope you're all doing this with me. 1, 2, 3, and back. So now I'm ready to pluck, so I release my hand, I move it over here, my thumb goes on the left hand side, my 3 fingers go on the right hand side, and I'm going to pluck all the way down from the E string down to the G string, 3, 2, 1, 0. I'm going to do it at a slow, careful speed. You can do it with me. 2, 1, 0, A3, 2, 1, 0, D3, 2, 1, 0, G3, 2, 1, 0. And now in reverse. G0, 1, 2, 3, D0, D1, 2, 3, A0, 1, 2, 3, E0, 1, 2, 3. And that's it. You're going to do that 3 more times though on your own, or rather 2 more times. We just did it once. So 3 times. And that's it. That is your introduction to the violin. You can now play notes. It's your left hand that plays notes. Let me just quickly troubleshoot a couple of things that most people have issues with. If you're playing a note and instead of having a nice sound, it's more of a thud, and you don't really get a note, could be a couple things. Could be that your finger is not pressing down far enough on the center of the string. If your finger's kind of off center, or if it's flat and not sitting well, you have to press the string out gently into the fingerboard, but make sure you press enough. You don't want to like squeeze your finger to death, but you want to like press it gently. The other thing is you might be grabbing the wrong string. If I have A2 here, I also want to pluck the A string here. So if I have A2 down, but I pluck a different string, it's not going to make a sound because my left hand is on A2. So those are some of the things you might run into trouble with. But that's it. That is the beginner violin lesson 1. Join me soon for lesson 2.